So hello, welcome back to the Shaken Fist. I'm Zach, of course, and today you've caught me not being haunted by demons, and whew, it's good to make friends with them, isn't it? Hey, but that's a different topic for a different time. Why don't you go watch those videos? The playlist should appear there, or maybe the video. It depends which one YouTube lets me do. Anyway, it's time to talk about something different in it, because it's every fucking week. It's something new with you people. You always want new content every goddamn week. And it's fucking ridiculous. It's joking. I love doing it. It's grand. But today we get the beauty of talking to one Alan Parr. And, everybody loves Alan Parr because Alan Parr is definitely the best Christian apologist out there going. And he stumps us all the time, all the time. And do you know what? I need the soothing balm of his words, substance, and whatever bullshit you want to put across. Because, being hunted by demons is hard. Being haunted by demons is hard. So today, let's just start at this, and maybe I'll feel better. I mean, the drink was nice and everything, and he's a cool guy, but a demon is still a demon, you know what I'm saying? So let's get fucking cracking, yo!
Are we living in the end times?
Sorry, I'm trying to calm down, and I heard meditation helps. Of course we're not living in the fucking end times! Well, maybe we are, but certainly not for the reasons that he thinks. Hey, who cares about the bleaching of the oceans and the fact that the oceans might start pumping out carbon dioxide? Jesus will burn us all first, so...
Sets the air on fire. No pain. An end to sorrow. Right. Everything.
I don't want to deal with the end times. I've just dealt with our demon.
In other words, are there signs that we can look at that are going on in our world right around us that seem to indicate that we are moving in the direction of Christ's second return and that the end times are imminent?
Because, because you see, he put the clips of, you see, there was war, there was death, there was climate change, and there was the gays. It's nice to see the gays involved as well. Gays, the LGBTQ community, anyway, but fucking, so, I suppose, there's plenty of signs that will show anything you want to show, because you want them to show it. And if you want them to show it, you could make anything fit, because, we're a species that likes to tell stories, you see. And since we like to tell stories, we could make them up with a lot of efficiency, because of our ability to lie.
The color of the pen that I hold in my hand is royal blue.
So, since we gained the ability to lie, we can put 2 and 2 together and get 5 all we want. Or we could be Terrence Howard and deny the existence of 1 + 1 = 2. Or 2 + 2 = 4. Or whatever stupid bullshit that fucking moronic asshole said.
Now, I'm going to give you in this video 5 key signs that you and I need to look for that are going around right now in our world that seem to indicate that we are trending in that direction. Now, you don't want to tune out too soon because sign number 5 could very well may be the most convincing of them all that seem to indicate that this is the direction that we are going.
Hey, you better stick around to number 5 so I can get that watch engagement up, because, hey, if they're all signs of the end times, the one that's number 5 is definitely the most important, because I wouldn't want to put that first. For most of the people, that would be, I don't know, watching your videos because they're Christians and might want to know things. If you really give a shit about the stuff that you were putting across, maybe you would try and actually put it across in more of a way that didn't just benefit you. Because when you're preaching for the Lord now,
Hallelujah.
isn't it all about his glory and not yours? Not your success and his? So maybe you should inform people properly at the start instead of waiting till it's beneficial to you. Because what was it that Jesus said? I just look at my Bible. I feel like I'm going to need this a few times today. Let's just get into the New Testament. Matthew 6:7. That's Maccabees. This is my Catholic Bible. I need a new one. Subscribe to my Patreon so I can have enough money to get a Bible. Because I'm poor. Matthew 6. Beware of practicing your piety before men, in order to be seen by them, for then you shall have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Thus, when you give alms, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by men. Truly I say to you, that they have their reward. But when you give the alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, for that your alms may be in secret, and that your Father who sees in secret will reward you.
So must I really give you a piece of my mind? Oh, I couldn't take the last piece. Now, what did you do that for? I'm only going to have to hit you right back.
So it's almost like Jesus is saying is when you're trying to help people, you don't do it out in public and you don't show off about it. And, you know, the reward you get, that extra engagement you get, if Jesus is real and true and everything in that Bible is correct, well then, that extra engagement you get in your videos is the only reward you'll receive. Because you'll be burning in hell. That's what it says in the Bible. I know it doesn't say Bible there, but it says it there. Is that good enough?
Now, in full transparency, I always like to explain to you all and share with you all some resources that have really helped me understand things. And I've referenced this book before, but all of the things that I'm going to talk about in this video really come out of this great book by Dr. David Reagan. It is called God's Plan for the Ages, the Blueprint of Bible Prophecy. And I highly recommend that if you are trying to understand Bible prophecy, that you go out and grab this book. I'll put a link to it in the description below so you can go ahead and grab it. It's a must-have if you really want to be a student of Bible prophecy.
So this book, and it's second edition, by the way. It's second edition, 20 plus years after its first edition. Probably not to coincide with COVID at all. Because this video came out in... Let me just check. So after a little bit of research, I looked at his channel. It came out at the 1st of February 2022. So during COVID, because, COVID is definitely the end times, right? We can tell now because we're all dead. We're all dead. And the end is here. And they've all been raptured, and all the clothes were left everywhere, just like in the Left Behind series. And, the planes crashed, and the bombs went off, and oh, the years of strife we have endured. I mean, I suppose we have. Maybe he is right. Maybe it is the end times. But anyway, I say the book. So this book is like 20 plus years old, and because you have to rewrite it because COVID's around, and it seems like the end times. So it's the best time to make end time prophecies because people are really dumb, and when they believe in God, and people they like that believe in God are starting going, look, it's the end times. Well, then religious fervor is induced, and people like to follow along with that because not only do people not like to be left out of a crowd, they don't want to be the last to the table either, do they? Plus, if it's supposed to be the end times, well, you can't deny any of it from any of them, can you? Because any of them could be true, couldn't they? Even if it's a 0.00000000000000000000000000001 chance, then I don't know, maybe it's a test from God. So they have to believe it 100% all the time. And it doesn't matter that it comes from a grifter piece of shit and that grifter pieces of shit keep on saying it over and over again. Well, this time it might just be true. Where's my food buckets?
Dear God. Okay, the soup comes in 6 gallons of this. It weighs almost 50 pounds. I know you don't want to hear this, but I want to tell you, you're going to dream Jim Baker on TV telling you, get ready. And you say, oh my God, why didn't I go? Why didn't I order something? I'm going to eat some more of this if you're not careful. Oh. It's so good. Oh, my God. You didn't have lunch, right?
Wow.
Okay, let's jump into the 5 signs that I believe indicate that we are living in the end times.
I am enraptured.
The book of Hebrews, first and foremost, says this: "And let us not neglect our meeting together as some do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near." Now, if a couple thousand years ago the day of Jesus' return was drawing near, then how much nearer is it now? But the idea here is that this implies that we should be able to discern that Christ's return is drawing near, because it says that in that passage.
So, just better go to this Bible a little minute. I just read from the fucking Bible. I know God done written it, but I don't need to read nothing but the quote he put on the page, right? And, God says to trust in him and not in people like him. I point there because that's where my screen is. So, we're supposed to trust in God and not in the man. So God says, in Hebrews, and you know what? He was very nice to not say that Hebrews was written by Paul, because I was going to chastise him for that, because a lot of people think Hebrews was written by Paul, but it's very anonymous and it never says Paul anywhere in it. But a lot of people like to attribute it to Paul because, Paul wrote all the epistles, right? So we'll just start at the start of 10, shall we? We'll see how much I need to read before you get the point. "For since the law has but a shadow of the good things to come instead of the true form of these realities, it can never, by the same sacrifices which are continually offered year by year, make perfect those who draw near. Otherwise, would it not have ceased to be offered? If the worshippers had once been cleansed, they would no longer have any consciousness of sin. But in these sacrifices there is a reminder of sin year after year, for it is impossible that the blood of the bulls and the goats can wash away sins. Consequently, when Christ came into the world, he said, Sacrifices and offerings thou hast not desired, but a body thou hast prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sin offerings thou hast taken no pleasure. Then I said, Lo, I have come to do thy will, O God, as it is written in the book. It is written of me in the roll of the book. When he said above, Thou hast no desire taken pleasures in sacrifices and offerings and burnt offerings and sin offerings, these are offered according to the law. He then added, Lo, I have come to do thy will. He abolishes the first in order to establish the second. And by the will we have sanctified through the offerings, through the blood and body of Jesus Christ once and for all. And every priest stands daily at his service, offering repeatedly the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. But when Christ had offered for all the time a single sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God, then to wait until his enemies should be made a stool for his seat. For by a single offering he has perfected for all those that are sanctified, and the Holy Spirit bears witness to us. For after saying, This is the covenant that I will make with them. After those days, says the Lord, I will put my law in their hearts and write them on their minds. And he adds, I will remember their sins and their misdeeds no more. Where there is forgiveness of these, there is no longer any offering for sin. Therefore, brethren, curtain, when he ripped the curtain through the tabernacle when he died, through his flesh. And since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how to stir up one another and love and good works. Weird how good works are important here. 25. What he's quoting. Not neglecting to meet each other as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. And all the more as you see the day drawing near. For we sin deliberately after receiving the knowledge of truth. There is no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a fearful prospect of judgment, and a fury of fire which will consume the adversaries. Bible. So what it's saying is Jesus' death stops the need for sacrifice, because the Hebrews was written after the temple had been destroyed, so the Hebrews couldn't sacrifice anymore anyway. So it was probably some kind of Ebionite, that's just a guess by me, polemic or something like that, to try and point out, about whatever, to point out how you don't need to do the Jewish things anymore because Jesus stopped that. And since Jesus was an apocalypticist that thought that he was going to be the coming king, and rule over Israel because he was the Messiah, which means, King of Israel, the one that comes and saves them from the oppressor. It becomes the one and only king of the 12 tribes. Like when Jesus said, hey, all my apostles, you will all 12 of you, including Judas, sit before me right now, eh? And all 12 of you, well, each one of you will rule over a tribe of Israel. And that includes you, Judas, because Jesus is God and he's all-knowing. But that's a side point. Jesus was a Jewish apocalypticist. And because he was a Jewish apocalypticist, he thought that basically the world was in control of demons or evil spirits or whatever, right? And those forces, because of how the Jews kept on fucking off God, you know what I mean? And breaking away from God's will and not following his divine plan. And not following his divine plan, then God had abandoned Israel. By the way, they'd been taken over by everyone. Babylonians, vassal state of the Assyrians, Alexander of Macedon, now the Romans. They were just like, we haven't ruled anyone since we were the Hyksos. So that was 1,000+ years ago. Oh no. So they thought the world was going to end pretty soon. They didn't think the world was going to end down the line. They thought when Jesus was, on the cross or whatever, going, truly I say to you that some of you that stand before me shall not taste death before my Father's kingdom comes on earth. Right? So they thought that the world was going to end pretty fucking sharpish. And when that didn't happen, well, then it's just some time in perpetuity in the future, isn't it? So all the lines that talk about early Christians thinking about that the world was going to end pretty fucking soon, well, we get to say that that's whenever, because, well, it hasn't happened yet. And if it hasn't happened yet, well, it must be in the future then, mustn't it?
So let me look at some signs here. Sign number 1 is what Dr. Reagan refers to as nature signs. And these are just signs that if you look at nature, it seems to indicate that we're living in the end times. Now, in Matthew chapter 24, it says this. Later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world?" Now, Jesus goes on and answers this question throughout the remainder of Matthew chapter 24. But I want to look at a parallel passage where essentially he's answering the same question in the book of Luke. And it says here, there will be great earthquakes, and there will be famines and plagues in many lands, and there will be terrifying things and great miraculous signs from heaven.
Spooky language. Spooky language. Designed to scare and control primitive people.
So you want to... See, I know the synoptic gospels are all kind of similar. So what, are you trying to seem clever because you're going from one book to another? Does it have some kind of specific wording in Luke that it doesn't have in Mark? Is it in Matthew, sorry? Is it in Mark? I don't know. Let's see, shall we? So, I'm going to start using the New Revised Standard Edition, right? Because fucking, that's what a lot of the scholars use. Your Catholic books could fuck off, right? So, we've got, was it 21... So he uses Luke 21:11, right? When he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, "Tell us when this will be. Tell us what this will be and what the sign of your coming and the end of the age." Jesus answered them, "Beware that no one leads you astray, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah. And they will lead many astray, and you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place. But the end is not yet, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. But this is all the beginning of the birth pangs." So that's in Matthew, right? And he uses Matthew. I wonder why he doesn't use the answer from Matthew. Well, we'll look at Luke, shall we? So in Luke 21, and they asked him, "Teacher, when will this be? And what will be the sign that this is about to take place? Beware that you are not led astray, for many will come in my name and say, 'I am he,' and the time is near. Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first. But the end will not follow immediately." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues, and there will be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven." Oh, that's interesting. "But before all of this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you, and they will hand you over to the synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before the kings and governors because of my name." You know, you got to get some of that persecution narrative on there. So I know we've read this out of order, but let's go to the one that he didn't do. You know, because it goes Matthew, Mark, and then Luke. "As he came out of the temple, one of his disciples said to him, 'Look, teacher, what large stones and what large buildings. Do you see these great buildings? Not one stone will be left here upon another. All will be thrown down.' And when he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, 'Tell us, when will this be? And what will be the sign that all these things that are to be accomplished?' Then Jesus began to say to them, 'Beware that no one leads you astray. Many will come to you in my name and say, 'I am he,' and then they will lead many astray. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed, for this must take place. But the end is still to come, for nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places. There will be famines, but this is just the beginning of the birth pangs." You know, I could go down the passage of really going side by side and comparing them and pointing out all the ways they're a little different. But the purposes of this video, I only really have to point out one mistake. You know, it's not whether it's all the disciples or just a couple or anything like that. What the point I really want to make is you notice how there's 3 of the synoptic gospels that all say the same things, except for Luke. Luke says one very specific thing. One very specific thing. I wonder what it could be. I wonder. You know, I wonder what it could be. Could it be the fact that Luke is the only one that mentions plagues?
What? No.
You know, considering this video came out 2022, you know, right after right around the time COVID was kind of ending, ending, because it's still around, it's only endemic, because assholes don't like vaccines. You know, hey, you two, don't tear me down. I said assholes don't like vaccines. I like vaccines. They mostly work. You know, like most medications. But hey, fuck YouTube, right? So, anyway. The fact that he says plagues is supposed to be super impactful because it's right near the end of COVID, or the end of the main part of COVID, right? And because it's right near the main part of COVID, everybody's supposed to go, "Oh my god, the end's really coming because the plagues have happened and the plague's done. And oh my god, there's wars. Have you seen the way that fucking Putin is on the horizon in China? And, you know, like fascism's on the horizon, Italy again. It's almost like we're repeating the last decade. Hooray!" But do you see what I mean? So you're supposed to put that together with everything now and go, you see, it's definitely the end of the world. It's definitely coming any day now, any day. Please buy my book.
And so the idea here is not that these things will happen, but rather they will happen in more frequency. It will increase rather in frequency and intensity. And this is the reason why Jesus refers to these things as birth pains or birth pangs, right? So, you know, if you're a woman or if you've been married, you see that a woman, whenever she is getting ready to give birth, her contractions increase in frequency and intensity. And so it's not just, oh, well, we've always had earthquakes, we've always had famines, we've always had plagues and things, viruses and things going on around in the world. Oh, but when they start to increase in frequency and intensity, that is a sign that Jesus said that the end is drawing near.
So it's almost like you know, when Jesus was alive, people didn't inhabit that much of the earth because we have 8 billion people right now, and they had not even a billion. They had like 200 million people in the entirety of the world. That includes Rome, Egypt, China, India, and all of the Americas. And that's just an estimate. You know what I mean? You can never get a solid number on that. And now we have 8 billion. It's almost like there's a lot of people everywhere now. So look, you see there's more earthquakes, there's more fires, there's more natural disasters, and, you know, there's more plagues, even though medicine gets rid of more and more diseases, and people are living longer and longer than they ever did, you know, except for maybe, well, no, we are, because we're living over 100, some of us, and all sorts. It's almost like we're getting rid of diseases, and, you know, because COVID was a pandemic, that means that pestilence is bad, right? You know, it's not the time and place where you could die from getting an abscess, or, like, the common cold or whatever, you know, because they were living in filth and had nothing and didn't understand bacteria, viruses, anything except for, well, it smelled. That's what makes you sick, because it smells, you see. It's the smell. I know, but... And, like, when you have so many more people live where there's earthquakes, you know, because there's a lot of people that live in the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean that likes to have a lot of earthquakes. You know, like the whole eastern seaboard of the US and, you know, Peru and, like, Southeast Asia, Japan. You know, these places that have massive population centers that see more and more earthquakes and feel them because there's more and more people there than there used to be. Things haven't intensified. The number of earthquakes hasn't intensified. The number of pandemics hasn't intensified. The number of plagues hasn't intensified. My intestines.
Inferior human organs. Oh, my squeedly spooch.
Like, none of that has gone up. They're all about the same. It's just people live in those places now and can experience them. But it seems like it's more, doesn't? Because the number's higher, right? That means there's more of them. Because they didn't, you know, earthquakes never happen when there's no one. I know that's a bit more unfathomable now because of how much we've populated the earth, but not back then. Jesus.
Now, the second set of signs is what I'm going to call the moral signs. And this is referring to what is going on in our world today as it relates to a moral decay.
Yes, the moral decay, says the black man on the internet. You know, because they never used to be able to say anything. Because, you know, the morals were better back in the day, right? You know, when people could have slaves and rape wasn't really a thing. It was more of a, you know, I have power over you, so I can fuck you whenever I want. Because, you know, power. It was so much better back then. They were nice, kind-hearted and decent people, and they weren't barbarous, and they didn't do anything evil ever in the eyes that we say now. And I know that we keep on looking back at all the things that people did in antiquity and go, oh my God, they're so horrible, but we shouldn't hold them to the standards of today. Well, you're right. We are so much worse than they used to be, you know? Because, like, yeah, capitalism's really bad, and, you know, rich people are really bad and, like, fucking everyone, and, you know, I know all those things are bad, but that's the side you're fighting for, right? You're saying it's really bad that everyone has kind of got together in the Western world and gone, well, maybe the gays aren't evil because a book from the Bronze Age says so. And, or, you know, Bronze Age, fucking Iron Age 1, whatever, you know. Serenity now! Because it's moral, because it's in the Bible, and the only morals come from God, even though God says, hey, I know that when you go out and you kill people in the wars, and if you want to rape them, you've got to and you want to take them home, that's cool. You know, it's war. And then you bring them home, right? And then you can keep them for a little bit, you know? And you got to keep them for a little bit, and then they can mourn the humiliation. No, sorry. They can mourn the loss of the mother and father for a month. And then you can have your way with them, and then if you don't enjoy them, you have to give them away for free, because that's protecting women. Because, you know, the Bible is full of morals that are dead good. And we don't live better at all with morals. You know, we don't have tighter restrictions on murder, rape, slavery, you know, well, we used to have tighter reforms on exploitation, but hey. Who cares about workers' rights? That's a different tale.
So I want you to notice several scriptures here. Matthew chapter 24, it says,
why are you going back to Matthew, you son of a bitch? Why are you going back to Matthew? Do you ever go back to Luke? Psst, I've watched the video. It doesn't really, if ever. So what? You've got to see, that's the fun of the synoptic gospels. When you know about the synoptic gospels and exactly what they are and why they're synoptic and the different meanings that each book individually has and what they're trying to tell, well, then you can look at them all differently, right? Because you can look at what they're saying. And because this bit isn't about the downfall of Rome at all after the taking down of the temple, you know, because they were written after the temple was destroyed. It's almost like it was written afterwards and they made it look like he was writing about, you know. Anyway. When the Son of Man returns, it will be like Noah's day. But I thought it said in Daniel or Elijah that Jesus was the Son of Man and he's there. It's almost like they knew that he died and his kingdom didn't come on us, so now he has to come back. But that's Matthew, I suppose. But hey, so, you know, he's going to stick with Matthew through most of this, but he just has to nip over to Luke and nick that little bit because it's the only one that says, you know, plagues. And even a bit, well, I just have to go laterally over a little bit to get the real juicy quote for what I want for this time because the Bible is meant to be picked and chosen from and not read, you know, as one. Each book is not a solid book with its own point and, you know, you're just supposed to read little bits of it because cherry picking is the way that all religious faith should exist.
When the Son of Man returns, it will be like it was in Noah's day. Now, we know whenever God destroyed the earth, in Noah's day that basically people were doing whatever they want to do. There was an increase in wickedness that was going on in the world.
I was pretty sure it was because there was Nephilim in the land. Or giants, you know. And because, you know, they've been fucking the angels. Right in the poop. I don't know, they're angels, whatever they have, Kawaka, whatever.
And Jesus basically says that when I return, one of the signs that I'm going to be coming back is that it is going to be similar to Noah's day. There's going to be an increase in wicked behavior, and we're seeing that all throughout our world today. Now, another scripture we'll look at is in Romans 1:25 and 26, where it says, they traded the truth about God for a lie, so they worshiped and served the things God created instead of the Creator himself, who is worthy of eternal praise. Amen. That is why God abandoned them to their shameful desires. Even the women turned against the natural way to have sex and instead indulged in sex with each other. So this is clearly referring to immorality. I know this text isn't referring specifically to end times, but it does say that these are some things that are going to take place, right?
Talking about the Romans, he's not talking about everyone. You know, because it's in a book called Romans. And when Paul was writing his epistles, what he did was write to a particular church. You know, like there'd be a Roman church and they'd have problems. So, and then he would be writing his, you know, theological answers to their problems and the way that they should conduct themselves in the church, you know, because he'd set them up. So he's not just talking about everyone. He's talking about either the entirety of Rome, right? Or the people in that Roman church. Now, considering that Rome had a lot of people that didn't really care about sexual propriety and whether you're going to be straight, gay, whatever. It was Rome. They were part Greek. You know, all that Hellenized stuff from people not giving a shit about fucking who they wanted to. You know, hey, the Romans did it as well. You know, all the, hey, look, it's a little child slave you give him to, and I get to fuck him now. It's cool. You know, because people were cool 2,000 years ago, right? Cool. And then he goes, hey, I know, whoa, I can be, you know, fucking, I can be on the level. I can talk to you like people and go, hey, this bit here wasn't, it's not about the end times, but it shows you that people will do these things, therefore end times. Because like the whole time, I mean, I've been watching this, just waiting to press pause so I can bitch about it, going, oh, I can't wait to have a go at him for fucking, you know, saying, oh shit. You know, I was just raring to have a go at him about how you shouldn't really be clipping different parts of the Bible to try and reinforce each other because none of them were really written in relation to each other. You know what I mean? So, But then he comes out and says it, well, it's not really what I'm talking about. It's just to kind of prove a point. But you can forget that bit because cognitive bias says, well, I want to agree with him. So that little nugget was inconvenient. So we can just take that bit and we can put it over here. Because, you know, he pretended to be honest about it, right? So, but he's going to continue on like it's central to his argument because, you know, he admitted that it isn't. So you're supposed to forget about that and move on, right?
He said, "Hi, folks, I'm completely full of shit, and how do you like that?" And the people said, "You know something? At least he's honest. At least he's honest about being completely full of shit."
Once again, somebody could...
Also, by the way, should we I just want to go up a couple verses from Romans, shall we? For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God, nor gave thanks to him. But their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being, and birds and animals and reptiles. So he's about naturalism, right? And people saying that, you know, the world is what exists, you know, the here and now. Naturalism. That's what it's talking about. And it isn't talking about, you know, gods that turn into animals or Egyptian type gods that are both, you know, it isn't talking about, you know, Jews that might have said they were Jewish, but really they were also, you know, acting towards the other gods of Rome and the like. You know what I mean? Because he's talking about pagans and not atheists. I know nowadays you can't really use any of those comparisons because we're not pagans and we don't believe in a polytheistic religion. But you guys really like to show, well, you know, if we just forget that bit, but then it definitely makes it look like it's all these people nowadays in their secular ways. It's not about pagans at all.
Of course!
Once again, somebody could say, well, you know, we've always had homosexuality. We've always had this type of thing going on. But once again, when we see an increase in this type of wickedness, these are signs that we're trending in the direction of this being the end times. But perhaps the most convincing passage is in 2 Timothy chapter 3, where Paul says this. He says, "You should know this, Timothy, that in the last days there will be difficult times."
What? What? What a bold claim! That if the world ends, the final days will be fraught with danger. Oh, wow! I such a deep cut and such a hard reach into what the end days might be like. That wow, I totally believe. Because, you know, we got to go to 2 Timothy. Got to go to 2 Timothy. But, you know, again, we got to go to a different book. It was, you know, one of the pastoral epistles, which is different than the commanding epistles. And, you know, that wasn't even written by Paul. But this one was definitely probably written by Paul. Hey, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? It's one of the ones that we think it was, though. My point is, you know, if it's almost like if God was actually trying to make a really, you know, like an effort to make it all make sense, that all these things would be put down in one place and you wouldn't have to look through all the information like you were a fucking Gnostic. Well, if you look here in this book and you look at this one word from this book, and if you put it together, if you put this half a paragraph with this one and this half paragraph with this one, well, it's Jesus. Because, you know, we need numerology and we need to search for the answers because the answer's hidden in the book, just like the Gnostics said. You're all Gnostics because you're looking for answers in a book that gives them plainly, thinking that it's secret. You're all Gnostics looking for secret answers. You're not really Christians. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, now go away or I shall taunt you a second time.
Now, I want you to pay close attention to this list that Paul provides here, and I want you to ask yourself, do we see these things increasing in our world today?
Are they increasing? Or are they just more out in the open than they used to be? I don't know. Let's take a look, shall we? This will be fun. It's not soul-destroying in the slightest. No, not at all.
Oh my God.
He says, for people will love only themselves and their money.
It's not part of those Christian polemics against, you know, the upper class Jews that ran the temple in conjunction with the Romans. It's nothing to do with that, right? Nothing. It's nothing to do with the opulence and vanity of Rome either. Nah, it's totally about right now, because Paul was talking about fucking selfies, wasn't he?
Hashtag selfies, taking selfies with their car in the back, their house in the back, and showing off their new ride, their new whip, their clothes, and all that stuff.
Yeah, the bitch is fine, ain't she?
Right? Like, yes, these things have been going on, but these things are happening more and more, particularly with social media. We are living.
Yes. So they're happening because they're visible. What people just became prideful nowadays. All of a sudden, people didn't used to park the boats out in the front lawn, just to show off that they had a boat, because they lived 300 miles from a lake, but they had enough money to have a fucking boat. Or like, oh look, I've had a new extension. Oh look, I've done this, or I've done this. And look, have you seen my hair, my nails, and my car, my children, my dog, my thing? Look at all the things I'm proud of. Look at all these things. It's always been that way, and it always will be. But it seems more around you now because we live in a time and a place where people don't have to be afraid of you for being Christian. They don't have to be afraid to be around you to say what they want, because you're not going to like stone them to death or throw them in prison or fucking put them in stocks or whatever bullshit torture you're going to put them through just because they don't believe the same thing as you, right?
Well, I didn't expect a kind of Spanish Inquisition.
They ain't going to put you under house arrest or anything. That pisses you off because, oh, why do I have to live in a time and a place where the religion I believe used to rule over it with an iron fist and it got to run over everyone? Oh, I want it to be like that again. Make America great again. Hashtag 2024.
We are living in a time of highly materialistic stuff going on, right? Where there's a lot of materialism. There's a lot of, I gotta have this, I gotta have this. And this is the idea of people loving their possessions, loving their money.
Here's the question, Mr. Allen Parr. Do you vote for Donald J. Trump or Hillary Clinton? Or are you going to vote for Donald J. Trump or Biden? I don't know. Which one out of those three people is the super vain, super rich, egotistical? I keep on describing Hillary Clinton as well. It's both of them. Okay, fair enough. It's both Hillary Clinton and Donald J. Trump. But Donald J. Trump is like a multi-billionaire that cheats his taxes, cheats the bankruptcy code so he can fucking do whatever the fuck he wants. Literally manhandles his way through whatever. Oh, no wonder he handles his way through women all the once, because women aren't really people, right? They're just, bits of Adam's rib left over for you to stick your dick in, because that's all they're there for, right? You're the sort of person that goes, hey, do you wanna? What's the difference, right? What's the difference? What does a bucket of KFC and a woman have in common? What do they got in common? After you get done with the tender thighs and the juicy breasts, all you got is a greasy bucket to put your bone in. Fuck the bitches. You know what I'm saying?
Once again, boastful, proud, scoffing at God, right? You see more and more atheists popping up, more and more people shaking their fists in God's face and mocking him and scoffing at him.
I am the shaken fist. So yes, I shake my fist at God.
Let the games commence. Ta-ran-ta-ta, ta-ran-ta-ta.
Yes, because we live in a time and a place where we're allowed to know this information. After they discovered about like atoms, cells, bacteria, DNA, quarks, photons, neutrinos, like isotopes, waves, like actual particles. Like, we understand so much of the stuff. Like, we have up quarks and down quarks, and we have all these things that we know about now. Gravity, there's a lot of things. When this was written, there's people that thought that, like, because they liked Aristotle or Plato out of like, oh, my balls drop, that controls my voice. It's not where the sperm is created or anything. We have discovered so much stuff that flies in the face of literally everything that is in the book that they didn't know in Roman times, because they weren't trying to keep history like we are. And they didn't have a scientific process, that would really work, or the equipment that would make that happen and make it produce reliable results. Because people weren't trying to figure out the truth. They had the truths, which are two different things. You got things that is, this is what things are, and you got the other one, this is what they think it are, and it's true to them. So it matters more. Like you, being a Christian. That's cool, right?
That's true.
How dare we scoff at God for being wrong about so many things. You know, because when I see, I have a little skin condition on my leg. I have a little skin condition on my leg. Thus, right? And you know what I do every morning when I get up? I go out and I hunt for 2 thrushes, and then I kill one of them and I sprinkle the blood on the other. I let that one go, and then I burn the bodies of that bird with a little bit of yarn, a little bit of hyssop, with some red yarn and some hyssop. And do you know what? It cures it. Because, you know, that's what God said, and it's in your book. But hey, who gives a shit about what God said? Because God's morals are for all time. But, you know, those laws that he made about slavery, right, that was just for that time, right? It wasn't for forever, because God was trying to edge people, you know, to the good side, right? So, you know, his morals are forever, but those ones aren't his morals forever. They were just the ones for the time. And that makes it awfully subjective. And that's a tangent.
Disobedient to their parents. Listen, the way I hear some young people talk to their parents, I wouldn't be able to get away with that. And I know some of y'all watching this wouldn't be able to get away with that if you were talking to your parents like that 20, 30 years ago.
Very, very strict house I came from. And I remember when I first went to, my first like contact with a white family freaked me out. And I found out some white kids can curse around the house. That fucked me up. When I was little, I couldn't believe that shit, because I couldn't even say dag around my house. My father said, it sounds too much like damn. And I was in the house with Tom Kildare's mother, Tommy, your little lady, said, come on, Mom, shit, I'm moving as fast as I can, shit. Come on! And if I tried to pull some shit like that in my house, Ed, you're a little late. Hey, come on, Pop, shit, what is this? Come on, damn. My pops would just go. That motherfucker's crazy.
I'm old, and when I was a child, my parents used to beat me, and there's nothing I do wrong, and I turned out fine. You should beat your children.
Right.
Like, it's dead cool. It's so nice. And so loving. You know, spare the rod and spoil the child. Beat the little fuckers, right?
Right?
Fuck them. Right?
Right?
Yay!
Right? But you see these kids just talking to their parents any old kind of way. This is an increase, right? Ungrateful.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, y'all don't know shit. I'ma learn you, though. I'ma learn you.
Oh my goodness, right? Like we live in a culture where a lot of people feel entitled. They feel ungrateful. Let's keep going. They will consider nothing sacred. Marriage isn't sacred anymore. Just sleep with whoever I want to sleep with. I'll get with whoever I want. I'll get married. I'll get divorced. I'll get married again. I get another divorce. Like, what's sacred anymore?
Dwarves, midgets, motherfucking unicorns. The motherfuckers don't want to see a black man make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For sure. You know what I'm saying? Know what I mean?
Just because we don't find it as sacred as you do doesn't mean we don't find things sacred. Oh, they don't find the sanctity of marriage very sacred. And it's like, oh, that property agreement. And I don't mean, you have, you know, the houses together and finances. I mean, like, it's a property agreement. She's now yours.
Right?
You know, maybe you find that disgusting. Maybe to love someone and to be with them for your life, I don't have to, I don't know, get the government involved. I don't need, you know, I don't need to spend a stupid amount of money propping up a bunch of shady businesses that are only around to sell balloons and flowers at an overinflated price just so they can make a quick buck off somebody else's happiness. Hooray! Goody me! It's great how, you know, oh, everybody, money is sacred, and, you know, they love money so much, but they don't hold anything sacred anymore. It's disgraceful. I want them to be, everybody should be getting married, even though all these companies just want to rip you off, and it's all about the money. It's always about the money, right? It's just about the money, and the money's supposed to be bad, but it's only good. The money's good when it's for the things that you want people to spend it on, right? Ah, the tangled webs we weave.
Right? They will be unloving and unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self-control. Can I get an amen? They will be cruel and hate what is good. They will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God. And here's the clincher. They will act religious, but they will reject the power that could make them godly. Stay away from people like that.
Can I get a Donald J. Trump? Hell yeah! You know, he can stand outside of his church with his book upside down and, you know. They will be unloving and unforgiving. Have you seen the things that man said? They have no self-control. Have you seen the opulence of that man's house? From all the money he plundered from from exploiting the bankruptcy system. You know, hey, they will betray their friends. How many of his friends were at his trial again? Like, they would be reckless and puffed up with pride. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. I'm a Christian. I'm so fucking humble. I know the answers to everything. I'm so fucking humble.
Moreover, I've never ever been an atheist, and I'm completely aware this is going to sound smug, even though I don't mean it that way. But the reality is, I think I understand the arguments for and defenses of atheist positions better than most atheists I know.
12 seconds later.
And I'm probably older than you are. So, ease up there, Ace. Everyone's tempted to think they're an expert.
I know. Look at him. Look at that atheist over there. He keeps on saying that he doesn't know that much comparatively to, you know, all of existence. And a lot of the answers we have aren't even correct. And, like, probably wrong myself. You know what I mean? So maybe you should go look in a reputable science journal about stuff. Or whatever. You know, those people that say, hey, maybe we stand on the shoulders of giants and we should all use collective intelligence through the years, you know, through the inventions of writing and speaking to further ourselves. But hey, all the Christians like, no, give me that, it's mine, I want it, it's mine, I don't want anybody else to have it. Why would you give the poor things? Don't give them unemployment benefits, don't give them disability benefits. They're just worthless, scroungy scumbags. How dare you? You don't like them? Fuck the poor, fuck these people, fuck these... You guys hate fucking everyone except the people that are immediately around you. Fuck the gays. Oh, your daughter's gay. Well, you know, I've really come around on that one.
Right?
So, you're going to make a big... Oh, look, they're all like the atheists, and the atheists are making all the people do those things. So that... Oh, what? So that's... So we're also acting righteous and godly, are we?
Right?
You know. It's like he doesn't really think about what he's saying. He just goes, ah! This line is really good. And then he says a few lines and he goes, you will have forgotten what I said before, right?
Right.
Because I said it a minute or two ago, so you must have forgotten it by now. So I can say the next bit that makes what I said before hypocritical, because I'm not looking at it in the context in which it was written, and I'm putting it in the context of another modern man who wrote a book about the end times, because that's the way that those bits of the Bible were totally about. Like, it was about the end times of 2025. Next year is going to be a doozy. Or if you were one of the... Actually, no, it's like if you were one of the few people that were very fortunate enough to see the first episode of Bottom of the Barrel before it was taken offline, you know, we would see that all of us atheists are going to be gone by 2030. So I guess that's when the rapture's coming, right? Hooray! We have a date. Cool.